we have on the line the PLP. Last week, the PLP rolled out Mr. Mischa Fubler, and we are fortunate to have a few minutes with Mr. Mischa Fubler. Good afternoon, Mr. Fubler. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Mr. Famous. How are you doing?
I'm blessed, and we have Brother Dawn here as well.
Okay. How you doing, Brother Dawn?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so in a few minutes or less, tell us who Mischa Fubler is, because the biggest thing we're hearing is, who's Mischa Fubler? Who's Mischa Fubler?
So, I mean, husband, father, brother, son, I'm Bermudian concerned citizen with what I think is the right skills and experience to add value to the legislature.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And tell us about your background, because you know the next question people say, well, what type of work he does?
Okay, sure. So
anyway, it could be a husband and father. What type of work he does?
I suppose that can be a good one, though.
Yeah.
But so my bachelor's degree is in urban studies, which is kind of a combination of city planning and sociology, not just learning about how cities have developed over time and best practices for what types of things to include in flourishing cities, but how the people that live in the cities evolve and interact with each other and with the physical structures in the city. And then my master's degree is in information systems, which has components of software programming and data engineering, as well as IT project management.
Okay, you sound like a regular Renaissance man.
I mean, I have a variety of skills, like I mentioned. You know, I think I'd add to the skills matrix that's currently there in our legislatures.
Okay, so tell us and these are some of questions that other persons may have or will ask. What led you into thinking about not necessarily running for politics, but being involved in political organizations?
So I have, some experience as an advocate and activist. I've been involved with Social Justice Bermuda since its inception. And after finishing that urban studies degree, I spent some time working for a grassroots community organization called ACORN, and doing community organizing primarily around environmental projects. And so with that kind of background, I have experience kind of advocating for positive change, and I wanted to kind of shift from this kind of reacting to what's happening at the legislative level to kind of affecting some of the legislation and policy coming out of the government.
Okay, but I'm going to be devil's advocate. People be like, well, you don't have to be in politics to change legislation or to advocate for change of legislation. So what would you say to somebody who says that?
I mean, that's true. But like I mentioned, you're usually then just reacting to whatever is being proposed by the government of the day. And I would like to be able to be proactive in suggesting changes that can positively affect the country.
Okay. All right. So what led you to join the PLP?
I've been on a few interviews now, and the Coles notes, I shopped around. I looked at what were the election returns since 2003, and I ruled out running as an independent because they kind of struggled to gain more than 5% of the vote. And even if I were effective through that route, I then again am not really affecting the legislation or particularly government policy. There have been some examples of independents being successful, like Gilbert Darrell, my great uncle, was an independent before joining the PLP. I also tried to engage with the OBA. They had a youth outreach thing at Bungalow 56 several years ago now, and I showed up, and I think only one person really spoke to me, and they disengaged when I pushed back on their talking points. And so, I don't know, that reception was missed, and that was kind of very different to what my experience was going to the youth outreach event that the PLP put on at the BTA building there on Front Street. And since then, and through some of my family members who are also involved with the party, I kind of found myself voluntold into being involved at the executive level, where I'm currently the chief technology officer for the PLP. And through that, and from working with other members of the party, I felt, it would be a good opportunity to put myself forward for service.
Okay. So you be the objective as possible, and you did can be independent, and that then I wouldn't say that didn't pan out, but you realized that had limitations. You went so far as to go to at least hear what the OBA have to say. Yeah. That didn't quite pan out, and then you were invited to a youth event at the PLP, and that sort of grabbed your attention.
Well, I mean, the people there were more interested in engaging with me and hearing what I had to say, and at the event there was something along the lines of like, we know, things are not great, and if you want to see changes, then you need to get involved. And I took that to heart, and the mission and vision of the PLP really resonated with me as well. It's something that I kind of agree with wholeheartly, and if you have some time here, I can share those.
Well, yeah, no problem. We're also going to invite, if you're up to, we're going to invite a few people to call if you want to just.
Yeah, sure.
Talking to me is I'm what they call that. You're preaching to the choir of me, like I'm not voting any other way.
Perfect.
All right, but and I say that in the interesting way that you as a young Bermudian, you weighed up whatever options were there, and you came to realize, okay, this is the party for me. No,
I'm a pragmatic decision maker. I went with the option that I felt would allow me to have the most impact.
Right. So you take other persons in my generation, which may be just above your generation, or kind of above your generation, like it's clear cut. Like depending on your demographics, it was clear cut who you're going to vote for. Like there's no even if the other party was offering something that was tangible, that's them. This is us. And I say that in the sense that Bermuda has moved, it's not moving, but has moved into a position where parties can't just use the proverbial race card either way. Now we have a caller on the line. Caller, good afternoon. How are you?
Yes, good afternoon. I just got a little small question for the new guy. He said something about Akon. Akon reminds me of the airport. The airport reminds me of old gas station.
All right, so excuse me, sir.
The people that manage the airport. It's the Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now. Membership-owned grassroots community organization. We were doing things like taking greedy landlords to task, getting payday lenders regulated in Ontario, canvassing for the NDP, which is the kind of more left socialist party in Canada. And like I mentioned, environmental programs with the City of Toronto. We were doing Live Green Toronto, which was providing people in low-income neighborhoods the opportunity to implement environmental improvement projects, community gardens, rooftop solar panels, bike shares, whatever the neighborhood thought would make a positive impact on the natural environment. We would get the funding from the city to make the program happen.
So it's a total different entity from There's Acorn and an Akon, like Akon artists.
Yeah, right. That's what called us guys down the airport. They built that airport because that reminds me of the Kroll gas station, which is only 25 years old, and it's turned the top was rusted right through and flat in. So I'm thinking my airport's going to fall in.
Well, it's not just your airport, sir. It's our airport, and
that's what I'm saying.
The jury's out on that one.
UBP, yeah, OBA, whatever. Anyhow, I'm just listening to you, boy, and I was just worried about that little part I heard.
No. Thanks for calling in to get that clarification.
Yes, please.
All right, cool, bro.
Yeah, man.
See, you gotta be succinct in what you say. See, Mr. Fubler, it's not Akon, it's Acorn.
Acorn.
Yeah. So, I was saying Bermuda's in a place now where younger generations, let's say 30 and under, they're not just blindly going to vote one way or the other, right? It's evident in the last election that people who the OBA thought was going to vote for them didn't vote for them. And, in other elections, it's been obvious that people PLP thought might was going to vote for them didn't vote for them. So I say that in the sense that people glory in you, that what you're bringing to the table is somebody who, as you're saying, you weigh up pragmatic options and you make decisions based on that.
Yeah. Like I said in my introduction speech today, I value very much data-driven decision-making. So that kind of influenced my decision for which party to join.
Yeah. So so how's the reception being on the doorstep?
Overwhelmingly positive, to be honest. Even the folks who, after they get me inside to sit down and chat, say, well, I'm voting OBA. That's just my party. We still have engaging conversation. I get a feel for what some of their issues are around things like immigration and education. And I don't know, luckily for them, I think those are important issues, and I have ideas for helping in those spaces.
Yeah, that's the thing, because, as you said, you have to, once you have the time as a politician, you have to listen to everybody, right? Now, even my wife doesn't agree with maybe, 70% of what I say or do, but I listen to her. Right? So, this is the things that we have to move to a space as a people that, listen, even you got to pick the sense out of the nonsense. Even if somebody's saying something and they're telling you they don't agree with you, there's something something sensible in what they said that may or may not apply right there and then, but somewhere down the line you'll be like, yeah, man, I remember that guy especially Ian was telling me about this, sir. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So when you're out, tell us, for those who have never canvassed, tell us what is some of the root. Well, we're gonna go to break, and when we come back, tell us what it's like being on. Tell us what it is out there canvassing. Yes, sir, and we're back. So, Mischa?
Yeah, I'm still here. Okay, so canvassing. You're out there in the neighborhood. First and foremost, you want to check in on the residents to see how they're doing in general, and more specifically, because I've been out recently after the storm to check that people didn't experience any kind of damage to their buildings or injuries in the household, because if there were, it's an opportunity for us to coordinate them getting assistance from the relevant government and third sector services. And then after establishing that everyone's okay, it's good to kind of get into discussing what the major issues are for that person, and confirming that they're aware of the election upcoming and that they've got their ID up to date so that they can vote. Those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. And so what? Well, here's a question for you, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible, right? If someone said to you, at the doorstep, right, was to say, well, what differentiates you from the other? Not say the other person. That's not getting to personality. What differentiates your party from the other party? Why should I vote for you versus vote for them?
But why they should vote for me specifically is because of the experience and credentials that I've mentioned already. But why they should vote for the party is coming back to that mission and vision. I'm going to share that quickly.
Okay, go right ahead, my brother.
The attainment of social, racial, and economic justice for all, based on the will of the people and democratic principles, in order to promote a sovereign nation that ensures equity and puts Bermudians first. And the vision is a diverse and inclusive party committed to cultural and economic empowerment while addressing the needs of an evolving Bermuda. Mm-hmm. And I think if those resonate with you, that should be more than enough to join or at least support, so that we can kind of work towards making that a reality for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because here's the thing, right? No matter if let's use Cotton Match as an example, if I'm a Somerset supporter, which I'm not, right? No one can ever tell me why I should support St. George. It's just not gonna happen, right? Even if my team is losing, I'm not supporting St. George's. And you have people that are in every country, right? There's at least two main political parties. One is generally what you call center-right, conservative. One is center-left, which is liberal, right? Yeah. But over the last 50 years, sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two, depending on which country. So a lot of people think, oh, well, we should just do away with politics and just what? Like, we just want us to be ruled by England? Like, you do away with local politics, how are you going to have full representation, right? So I say that in a sense to say, are many persons in your generation, I use your generation, let's say 30-ish down, right? What are their take on being involved in politics beyond just being on Facebook complaining about stuff.
I can't speak for everybody. I mean, those that I know in my social circle, many are apathetic. They've already disengaged from the process. A lot of the people kind of currently at the forefront have failed to engage them on a level that resonates with them.
What do you mean engage on a level that resonates with them?
Right, showing empathy and building a connection, a meaningful connection with them in such a way that they can not have to wonder whether, those people have their best interests at heart. A lot of the politicians even identified this kind of generational gap there. A lot of the people are making decisions that affect national policy that won't affect them. They'll be gone before we see the effects of some of the decisions, as an example. And so I also think from both parties, they're struggling to find people with the kind of capacity to put themselves forward for service. And so there's only a few of us in this kind of millennial or younger generation involved in politics. And, my schedule's pretty tight at home. I have 2 young children, and I'm involved in, a few other volunteer endeavors. But I felt like now was an excellent opportunity to kind of put myself forward and, bring this alternative approach to doing politics. And you mentioned, with the 2-party system, I feel like that's really accentuated in the American context specifically. Many of our other kind of G20 neighbors will have a broader spectrum of options, with there being something more center-left or liberal, as well as something even further so that tends to be more in the kind of socialist vein. And as I was saying on the interview on the Daily Hour earlier today, that really more aligns with kind of my worldview. But, to the listeners out there that are alive from the time when there was the big Red Scare and communism and socialism are the worst things out there, if I am elected to the House, I intend to kind of lead through consensus and not try to push for something that there's, significant apprehension in the community.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I know you have to get back to connecting with the folks out there in Smith's house.
Yeah, well, it's dinner time right now at home, so I'm going to do that. I haven't seen the kids all day, but then, yes, back onto the phones to start getting in touch with the folks in Smith's house.
All right. And we'll have you back closer to D-Day.
Sure.
And out of fairness, we'll have the other person on. We wouldn't let Dwayne accuse us of being biased.
Of course not.
So, so take care and give regards to your family, bro.
All right. Thanks for the time, Chris.
Yeah, man. No problem.